Love After Lockup. This is episode 34. I came to you guys a couple of days ago to talk about some of these shenanigans. This cast is like literally on fire. This is such a good season so far. I didn't know if I was going to be reviewing this show, but oh my, it was just too good. I said I got to jump in here, even though it's not the first episode. So let's get started with Justine and Michael. So Justine and Michael are meeting up with his family, and this is going to be his first reunion since he's gotten out. And his friend Mocha was calling on the phone on the way there, and she was already kind of like, why, this is supposed to be a family day or whatever. So they get there, and Mocha shows up. So we're thinking it's going to be a whole setup around this Mocha guy, but they just, said hello, they kissed their hellos or whatever, and reunited. So what ended up happening though was that, man, Michael's mom, who initially was Justine's friend, is now Justine's mother-in-law. So we're seeing a complete dynamic shift of how their relationship works, right? So Michael's mom wants to make it clear that, hey, Justine, you're not going to have any say so in how my granddaughter is going to be raised. And, I feel as though that conversation could have and should have happened at another time, right? If she has expectations as a grandmother, as someone who's been holding it down, because I'm assuming that Michael's children have been living with the grandmother, or maybe some of them have been with the baby's moms. I have no idea, but it seems like this particular granddaughter is under the care of the grandmother. And, she's like, listen, I don't want my granddaughter getting tattoos. And she's such a Dominican mom. She's Dominican, right? I'm like 99.9% sure she's Dominican, right? And she's like, in the belly button. She's like, I don't want any of that stuff on my granddaughter. And, and her granddaughter is older than even Justine's daughter, right? Her granddaughter, I think, is 17. Michael's daughter is like 17, and Justine's daughter is 15. So now Justine's getting upset. Right. And she's like, hey, listen, this is my kid. And, listen, single mom raising kids on your own. I think there's a little bit more of a sensitivity of like, hey, I've been the only one holding it down. Nobody's going to come in to my world and tell me how to raise my kid. But I did feel as though initially I was like, well, why is Justine being so combative with her? That's her mother-in-law. But then I'm thinking, well, see, the thing is, that was her buddy. So she went from buddy to mother-in-law. So then there's a difference in how, the level of respect and how you speak to someone. And I totally understand Michael's mother's point. I really do. But at the same time, Justine is like, hey, listen, my daughter is a straight A student. She's an honor student. She never gets in trouble. I heard her like on one of her videos. My daughter, she doesn't do this. She doesn't do that. She's captain of the cheerleading team. Like, she is like a model child. And we see her on that show. We've seen some kids that are very fresh mouth. She seems like she has a genuinely, like, she's done, I guess, the best with the circumstances of, situation of being a single mom, raising her. But it was interesting when when Michael's mom was like, this is, it's okay with me. Yeah, I took her to get that tattoo. She came to me. We have a good relationship like that. She does well in school, blah, blah, blah. And, and Michael's mom's like, well, that's not, now you're talking to me with your hands and stuff like that. Like, that's not how you talk to, your family members. You're talking to me like somebody out in the street. And I do agree. I do agree. I feel as though even though Justine felt very sensitive and justified in her reasoning of like, listen, don't tell me how to raise my kids, but she's talking, but you're a blended family now. So you do have to take some of take it into consideration. Yeah, you could just be completely like, you know what, forget you, whatever. These kids are going to be living with me. I'm going to do whatever I want. But come on, you had a friendship before. And even if you didn't, and just like a regular mother-in-law type situation, don't you want to kind of respect, the way that the child is being raised? It's just, as a parent, you would understand that if your kid is going to go into a different environment, all of a sudden, you want to make sure that the kid is like, there's some similar methods of being raised. And Michael, listen, hey, we can say all we want. He united front. I mean, Michael was like, listen, she's very good at disciplining her kids and blah, blah, blah. But I think the way, listen, Michael's mom, she likes her as a friend, right? Enough to introduce her to her son, her incarcerated son at the time. But I do still think that Michael's mother is disappointed that Michael has different kids with different people. She's not happy with his previous dating history. And I think she looks at Justine as like, you got three different kids. Who knows how many different dads? I think there's a little bit of a judgment thing going on with Michael's mom. I really do. But I think that these are just two people that literally could have had a sit down conversation. And if Justine would have been a little bit more receptive and not so like popping off, because that's your mother-in-law. Like, I would never talk to my mother-in-law like that. But my mother-in-law also was not my buddy. So it is a different dynamic. But, I just wouldn't talk to it. I mean, there are other family members in my family that are not, they're not my in-laws, but because they're married in and they're elders, I just kind of see them like, wow, okay, well, I just listen to what they say. As long as it's not being said in a mean way or disrespect, they're older. I mean, they know more. So I do tend to, I feel like it's a respect level. And I don't know, I feel like this particular storyline, even though there's some more juicier storylines, obviously later on, but I feel like that was the one that kind of caught me the most because let's face it, Justine and Michael, they're a blended family. And I never thought I would be having like normal dialogue on this type of review on this kind of show, but I mean, they might just they just seem like they might make it. Now, is he going to be able to be faithful and change? I don't know, but the way that Michael speaks, I feel like he means what he says. And like the moment with his father where, he's telling his dad, like, I wasn't crying, but I thought that was such a great heartfelt moment to see two men together. And this man, Michael's like a big guy. Well, he used to be like big when he went in, right? He's a little chubbier, right? But he's like a tall, big guy, masculine guy who's saying, I had to hide my emotions all these years in jail. But now is the minute that he's able to talk to his father, he's letting him know, listen, that really hurt me because I really needed you. You gave me that strength and you weren't there for me. So I was like, wow, this was really something. It was a different side of Michael as well. And typically I like never think that people are going to change or always going to be whatever. I still don't know. At this point, but what he's showing right now, he's very invested in the family. And I noticed a couple of times, like the first minute that he walked in to their home, and remember when Justine's son was feeling a little bit jealous or whatever, which is absolutely understandable. He's going to have to share his mom now when he's had her all to himself. And, he's like, listen, you guys got to listen to your mom. And then when I rewatched the episode for last night, that was for last week's episode, when I rewatched last night's episode and I was looking how Michael was interacting with the kids when they got home after the end of that picnic and how they were, Justine's like, okay, shower and bed. And then he's like, yeah, you got to listen to your mom. He definitely has an authoritative sort of way about him. So I don't think he's the kind of dad that's going to let kids just run wild and everything like that. And Justine's been holding it down on her own. She's been doing okay with her kids. So, we can't say she's a bad parent. Now, listen, the whole bringing someone home from prison when you got kids at home, that's a whole nother story. But it's not something I condone. I can't. However, this situation was just a little bit different because, like I said, she was friends with the mom, but at the end of the day, I still don't condone it. But they just seem to be like one of those couples that maybe have proved most of us wrong when we think about incarcerated couples with someone out in the free world. So far, they have 7 kids. It is such a huge family dynamic. And Michael's sister, who I love his sister. I don't remember her name with the curly, she's brown skin, big girl, right? I absolutely love her. She's very beautiful. I like her relationship with Michael. You can tell Michael comes from a very good family, a very supported family. Now, going back to Justine with her mom, now I remember, or Justine with the conversation with Michael's mother. I remember when when Michael's mother was saying like, or Justine saying, well, that's how I interact with my mom. And Michael's mom's like, see, there it is right there. That's how you interact with your mom. In other words, like, that's not how you talk to your mother. That's not how you talk to a mother or a mother-in-law, but obviously that's how you talk to your mom. So I'm seeing I think the clash of the titans here is that they come from different I mean, every family is different anyway, but it seems, I don't know, but from what we're being presented, it seems as though Justine is like she just comes from a more permissive, maybe her mom was one of those moms who just kind of let her do what she wants or something like that, versus Michael's family. I think he had a little bit more, like a little bit, tougher, and I mean, plus his mom, come on, his mom is a Caribbean woman, like, right, Caribbean moms are not known for, I mean, from what I knew growing up seeing Caribbean moms, they didn't play around. So I think maybe that's something Justine is just not used to. I think Justine's mom maybe just was like I said, had more of a laissez-faire style of parenting. So, okay, that's more the serious note stuff. Okay, so let's move on to Monique and Derek. All right. So, all right. She is, he's, oh, wait, sorry. Hold on. Okay. All right. So they're talking about the night after, right? So she's giving him his rating and she's like, oh, he's like a 7 or an 8. Now, I know everybody, especially, on some of these, YouTube streets and stuff like that. Everybody's going on and on about, her size and stuff like that. Here's the thing. Now, those pictures that we saw did not look like he could see her full body. From what we saw, maybe she sent him full body pictures and we don't know, whatever. But I mean, the thing is that, I mean, we can't act like big women can't get a man. Look, have we seen My 600-Pound Life? Listen, okay, look, those women stay with a man. They're never single. They got somebody to help them wipe and get under the fold. Listen, they always got somebody. So we can't act as though, big women have such a hard time finding somebody. Now, someone of quality, I mean, I don't know. Now, the other thing that kind of was like a red flag for me, though, I'm skipping ahead just a second here, is how he was talking about how she, when they were at the restaurant, he loves to feed her. And when he said that, I was like, oh no, this is not good. This is not good because, feed her, that's a fetish community, right? And we don't want to see her fetish size. Now, whatever issues with her weight, that's, whatever she's going to do with that. I mean, I wish her the best in her weight loss journey, but hopefully she does it for herself and not for anybody else. Now, the things that concern me with Monique, going back a little bit, because I didn't do the earlier episodes, was like the tracking devices and using the phone as like a, as an electronic leash. That just screams insecurity. Now, the thing is that I know people, I guess women feel in these situations, or maybe men too, feel justified in that because they are coming from prison, I guess. So they're like, oh, I got to make sure that this person is going to not, I mean, recidivism rates are high, right? They want to make sure they're not going back in with the same old crowd and doing the same old activities and things like that. And that's understandable, but it's the risk that you take. You're not the person's warden when they come out of prison. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. And, the hidden camera in the grandmother's house that she plans on putting, that was so over the top. So, I mean, while yes, weight can tie into it, I'm not as much concerned about that because, I mean, he seems like he's attracted to her. So if he's attracted to her, then her, this whole issue about how much she weighs is really not much of an issue. I won't say much of an issue, but it's not at the forefront if there is a mutual attraction. Who cares? He's a small guy, and he admits. Listen, one thing I can say about Derek, he's a small guy who knows he's small and seems to be okay with it. I mean, he keeps his body in good shape. He's worked out since he's been in prison. Monique is obviously loving every inch of that, right? And he said that even though he mentioned that she was larger than he had thought she was going to be. He's been with women. When you're a shorter guy, you're naturally going to have been with people that are taller than you. So he's used to women that are taller. And he says, he used the word thick, not quite her size, but thick, right? So, I mean, I guess if it's, I just think that there is an attraction. I mean, I don't know if this is going to be some long-term thing. In fact, I don't think it's going to be long-term just because of like the hiding of the cameras and stuff like that. And Monique's, her attitude is like, well, yeah, I can do whatever the hell I want. You guys can't tell me what to do. Who are you? This is my relationship. So, I mean, okay, but I mean, how long is a person gonna stick around for something like that? You know what I'm saying? So, I just that wasn't a good look. So, later on they go to the restaurant, but we'll get to them later. So now, Gabby and Chris. Now, Gabby and Chris. All right, oh my God, some blush on my finger. So anyway, Gabby and Chris, I'm not going to go too into depth with them because of the, I'm going to use allegedly for legal purposes, Gabby's allegations against him. And apparently he is in prison now for allegedly physically assaulting. She released the video. I mean, I definitely saw at least the picture and stuff, and it was quite frightening. So because of that, I'm not really sure why they are continuing to keep this couple on. If there was any type of uh, instances of any type of aggression of any physical nature. I'm trying to avoid using certain words that YouTube will flag, but we know what DV is. As far as I'm concerned, he can go to hell. All right, now that's just where I stand on that. Yeah, his mom and everything. Of course, she wants him back home, and if his genetic pool is not the strongest I've ever seen, his mother, him, and his brother, they look just alike. I mean, the sister kind of looks like them too, but I mean, they look just alike. So anyway, mom wants him back home or whatever, understandable, but she wants him just to break up. So hopefully we'll get to see next week that they'll give us some sort of update, because where she said, like when she did some interviews explaining about what was going on and how she was, she alleges that he hurt her and that her cousin was filming the entire thing and that her cousin was not stopping to help her. And so the story she's telling, the timeline seems to be around the time, I'm guessing it's leading up to this whole leave him at the train station thing. I don't know, but shortly after. She said that they were together for like 3 months, I think, after he got out. So, I don't know if they're going to cut this short or they're going to just drag it out to the last episode and then we'll find out next season something about them. I don't know. But like I said, because of his behavior, his alleged behavior, and I'm going to say, even though I think Gabby is absolute trash, I will still not stand behind any person, any man who puts his hands on a woman. I do believe her, and at least in that instance. I don't believe all the details in her story, but I do believe that he did what she said he did. I do believe that, so I'm not covering them any further. Not completely, but I'm not going to go into much with them. All right, so let's go to Nathan and Skyler. So, all right, Nathan gets there. Skyler's mother and her brother are there. She gets out the van. She embraces her family, and then she goes and hugs Nathan. I was not seeing like this great thing with them. I was expecting a little bit more, but it felt very flat, when they went out to go get something to eat and stuff later on. I feel like Nathan is the type of kid, he was probably the type of kid who just did not know how to manage his own emotions. Like little things can maybe set him off or just get him in a funk very easily. She's obviously very entitled. She's like one of those middle class, addicts, basically. Fentanyl is a very, terrible drug. I mean, that's what Michael was arrested for, selling fentanyl, right? Wasn't it fentanyl? I believe it was fentanyl. But anyway, it's just a very, very horrible drug, and has really contributed to the, the opioid crisis here in the United States. So I feel as though, she knows she could, or she feels as though she could do better. She's entitled to better. I think she kind of looks down on him a little bit. Now, what I didn't know, we did learn, is that they only spent 3 or 4 times together before she went to jail. So they really don't, because I thought they dated, for a little while. I didn't think it was like a 10-year relationship, but I didn't realize how short it was. So they are really having to get to know each other on the outside, and he's so disappointed with like, because he spilled some drink on him, and he's going to be a loose cannon. All right. Now, out of all the people whose house you want to parole to, maybe he seems like he's the least craziest. But I'm telling you, I think he can snap in a dime. I really do. We'll see. We'll see. I hope I'm wrong. But they were a little boring. I have to be honest. I don't want to go too much into them. All right. So now let's get back to Monique and Derek. Oh my God. So, all right. Let me get my notes here. Listen, guys, I'm not a young spring chicken, so I gotta do like this and squint sometimes when I have to see. So, all right. So they go out on a date, all right, and he wants to be like, he is so busy. All right, okay, listen, guys, I want you to pretend that this watch here, my little Hawaiian watch, is a Cartier, okay? Honey, he was like, bam, bam. Oh, yeah. You see that? Yeah. I love it. I love it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it was just so funny. I mean, he had to let the entire world know that he has this Cartier watch, honey. You could see that thing sparkling from down the street. So she's his personal photographer. She's like, yeah, honey. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's good. And she goes, yeah, I'm gonna let him. I understand. I'm gonna let him have his freedom. I get it. He needs to, just kind of be himself. I was like, we'll see how long that lasts. Okay. So as soon as they're into the restaurant and she finishes giving him his entire photo shoot, and he's got everybody on the phone. It's like, yeah, look, yeah, I'm doing, yeah, right. So then the food comes. All of the food, like course after course after course. It's like, oh my God, I know you just got out of prison, but this is not your last meal, okay? It's the first one. And he's like, yeah, well, I want to eat like this all the time. And she's like, she's probably like, yeah, well, me too, but we don't have all the money to be doing all of this. So now, his buddy stops by, like sees him outside through the window and comes in, probably just sees, the camera crew or whatever, and recognizes Derek. And, they reunite and, chop it up. And he introduces himself to Monique and everything. And then he gives him his number because, listen, Derek wants to spread his wings, honey. He wants to be out in that casino. He wants to have a good time. And Monique is sitting there like, I'm kind of tired. And now he's asking his friend, hey, let's go out. So afterwards, because she's sleepy. So once he leaves, of course, she takes his phone and deletes the number. Now, he probably has no idea how to work that phone. All right. He's been locked up for a little while. So she has the advantage of, or the technological advantage, right? And he's like, what'd you do? And she's like, nothing. He's like, did you delete my friend's number? And see, because the thing is, people go from being a partner of some sort to being kind of like a warden, right? Because you just want to make sure that they don't go back in. So they're in their attempt to keep them out of prison, they make the person feel like they never got out of jail in the first place. So he's like, this is your phone. You got the passcodes, you got this, you got that. You can change people's numbers. I mean, it's a bit much. Hey, everybody who's joining in, how you doing? Thanks for joining in. Hey, and listen, if you guys are enjoying the video, please don't hesitate to give it a thumbs up, okay? And don't forget to subscribe so you know when I come in with all the craziness. So anyway, all right. So now the friend has left, right? And, he's trying to get her to go to the casino. But let me tell you something. It's like the end of the day. Listen. She's like, not my feet. I can't be walking. Come on. I mean, and see, I think this is part of him not understanding her health situation and her not understanding his energy level, right? This man wants to paint the town red. He's looking at people on their, glow in the dark motorcycles and wants to do stuff like that. I mean, you're not going to be, well, anyway. So, he wants to be able to do things. And, at the end of the day, she's had a long day with him, right? And, there was a little bit of cookie last night as well. So, I mean, I'm sure there's some, recuperation that possibly needs to happen, perhaps on her end, at the end of the day, like after she's fed him and taken him this place and that place, your feet are going to hurt. I know her back is hurting and her knees are hurting. she doesn't want to go to the casino. And I mean, just physically, do you know what it's like when your friends want to hang out and stuff and you are just dead tired? So she's like, her face is looking so grumpy, like, oh my God, I thought you were gonna sit here and stay cuddled in my bosom the whole time, and then we're just gonna go home. But the night is still young. So anyway, yeah, that's just not, I don't think she realizes how much she really wants to be out, or if she does realize, I think it's scaring her. So, all right, let's move on from them. Okay, so now we have Eris and Cameron, I think his name is. It's so funny this year, the name Eris, I've never heard in my entire life. I've never heard of anyone named Eris. Aries or Harris, but never Eris. So we have an Eris on Love After Lockup, and we also have a male Eris on Married at First Sight, which, by the way, I do reviews for Married at First Sight. So please make sure you check out my Love at First Sight reviews, because those are going to be coming as well. So anyway, yeah, Eris and Cameron. So he was like a little bit rough when he came out of prison, and it's understandable. Now let me tell you something. He's good TV, all right? He's funny. He's just like a little character. He's another short, like a little short guy with like a whole bunch of hair, light skin. This is kind of interesting, right? So I'm kind of watching the dynamic between him, and I know everyone has been going off about like how beautiful she is, and they can't believe she's with him and stuff like that. But I don't want to be, I'm going to keep this spoiler free. All right. But let's just see who's going to stay together, later on, and who won't. Let's see if we're right, about some of these observations, shall we say, that we've made about them. So they seem to have like a good chemistry. Now, at first I was wondering if she was kind of like not so super into him. And I think she is. I think he just had to like get his hair braided, or, and just kind of like look a little bit more cleaned up for her to be more into him. Because I really feel like they're into each other. Now, he was absolutely disgusting with talking about the slug trail and my face. Oh, it was just gross. Way too many details, but very entertaining. So I don't know. I think these two. Listen, I don't know if I want to use the words like work out, but let's just say stay together. Okay, I think they're going to stay together. She seems to be very smitten with him. I don't know. Love is blind, right? All right, so let's see who's next. All right, so okay, let's go back to Skyler and Nathan. So Skyler and Nathan, when they get to his grandmother's house, now I know people typically nowadays like these kind of very, minimalist sort of like Scandinavian, clean line kind of look. His grandmother's house looked like it's straight out of a Victorian era or something. And I like the Victorian look. So personally, to me, I thought the house was great. It just needed to be cleaned up. So in spite of it being a great house, he still should have had all of that shit out of there. All right. You don't bring somebody home who's been in prison to a bedroom that's not even ready to go. I mean, if he's a big, strong guy, I mean, he definitely looks like he could move that bed on his own. He didn't have to rely on his aunts and his, to help him do that. Even if they had agreed to that, at least the basic, at least the bedroom, have the bedroom fixed up so she feels welcomed and everything like that. And girlfriend's coming for, like I said, she's middle class, so she's looking at this like, oh, I don't know, what am I supposed to, she's like, what am I supposed to do with this, right? So that's kind of rude. I hate when people, that's like on those 90 Day Fiance shows and stuff, when people come from far away and they get there and it's like you got an air mattress or something like that. It's like this person's been coming for all of this time. It doesn't make any sense. But he's very young, and I feel as though they do. I feel like there is they do have a chemistry, but this is not gonna last. I mean, she knows at the end of the day she's got her mom. She just doesn't see. She doesn't give like, oh, she's so into him. And I think it's because he still has some growing up to do. I don't think that he is like completely 100% out of the woods of where he needs to be, because he was in prison, so when you're talking about, both people with like addictions and things like that, you need a lot of time to kind of grow and get better, and maybe not right away be with someone else who has the same sort of issue that you do. So I don't I'm with her mom. Like, I think that's too much. And and then the mom was like giving her all these different, outfits and stuff out of the trunk for her to wear. And, I mean, she had a lot of stuff, so I think she was probably spoiled, you know what I mean? Probably like a spoiled type. But anyway, okay, let's move on from then. All right. So all right, Monique and Derek. So Monique and Derek are now, it's time for them to leave the restaurant. And let me tell you, honey, when they came there with that $500 check, I said, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, $500. I have never in my entire life spent $500. I'm a little bit on the cheap side, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I like a good meal, but when it's $100, it's hurting me. I don't like to pay that kind of money because I like to cook. You know what I mean? But if it's something that I can't make myself, all right, that's fine. But $500, she has spent so much money on this man, between the brand name, this, the Gucci, that, I mean, $3,000 for this and the $2,000 for that. I just couldn't believe how much money she spent on him. And you know what, Monique is a little bit bratty. Have you guys noticed that? She's like, because when she was with her sister, and her sister's like, you bought all this stuff and you didn't even get anything for my nephew. And she's like, her attitude is like, so what? It's my money. I can do whatever I want to do, which is true. You're not obligated to buy your nephew a gift, but there is no way in God's green earth I'm going to buy someone I've never met in person like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of stuff. I'm married. I don't do that for my husband. I mean, I don't think my husband would do that for me either. If I was like, hey honey, I really like these pants, but they're 3,000, he'd be like, well, why do you need, what is the point in spending that much money on clothing? That's a whole nother discussion, but I'm just saying these things kind of suggest she's a little bit bratty. But I guess, maybe she was the baby. I don't know. Was she spoiled as a kid or something like that? Because you can see the dynamic with her and her sister. Like, she's kind of like the one that kind of gets what she wants all the time. So I'm wondering if she's like the younger sister. And, maybe to her, $500 is nothing. But I mean, for God's sake, she works in she's a receptionist in a veterinary office. I mean, I don't know that they're paying like that, but is she taking out loans? Where is all of this money coming from? It's none of my business at the end of the day, where that money's coming from, but how long can you sustain that? Is that going to, you're setting up a level of expectation that's impossible to even maintain. How do you continue to buy someone, things like that? Listen, if it's a sugar mama situation, if everybody's over 18 of sound mind and consensual, that is my whole thing, then who am I to judge how somebody else's relationship goes? I probably still will judge it, but you know what I mean? Whatever, that's their business. But it doesn't seem like she signed up to be a sugar mama, but this is sugar mama territory. I understand making somebody feel good when they come home. Like, for example, Michael's family, right? There's many family members. They all could have chipped in and got him a $20 gift or something like that, but they didn't need to do that. It's just their presence. Look how happy he was. He was in tears, right? He was so happy to see his family. So when you have like a genuine connection with people, you want to see them. You don't need to have to lavish them with these really expensive gifts. Your presence alone is enough. So that's that on them. So, and of course he's still trying to get her to go to the casino. So, all right, let's get back to Eris and Cameron. So they wake up in the hotel, and he gives us an entire play-by-play of his escapades. It was absolutely gross. I was just like, we don't need to hear all that, okay? But he's got to get back to the halfway house before 9 p.m. and he's very serious about that. Now, I feel like he definitely seems like he wants to stay out of jail. Now, I'm not saying, like, there's different levels. There's the ones that really have you convinced he'll never go back to prison. There's the ones that make you think, well, I think he wants to stay out. We'll see. And then we'll call them the we'll see people. And then there's the ones that within a week, they're going to go, they'll be right back in jail, right? So I just think that if he can get out of this, I'm a rapper. Like, if he really is able to dedicate himself to like getting an actual real job and stuff like that, instead of talking about, how much he wants her to, come to his video set and how his video set's going to be all, because his entire mind is so like focused on sex and stuff like that, that will land you back in prison. Okay, because your mind is on the wrong stuff. You're not focused on things that'll actually keep you out of jail and help you to be able to, take care of a family. I mean, well, take care of a family. That's a bit of a stretch when you're coming out of jail. I don't know. These guys with these, the music careers and stuff like that, very rarely does something like that become lucrative. So at least in the meanwhile, why don't you say, hey, I heard they're hiring over at True Value, or hey, whatever, and it's just very difficult with their records to get a job. So how are they going to be able to support? But there are places that would give a person a second chance. Listen, if I owned a business, and a felon wanted to get a job, if they gave me like character references, okay, not like, I'm not expecting like this, whatever, but like maybe 5 people I could call up and be like, is he legitimately a good person, or she, or whatever. I would, because I would give that person a job. Now, I'm not saying I'd give them, the keys to whatever, but I think people do deserve a second chance at times, and it's a case by case thing. A lot of people can get in trouble, right? How many of us were young and dumb at the wrong place at the right time, but just did, we weren't unlucky enough. Maybe if we would have stayed in that person's house 5 more minutes, the cops would have been there or something. It does happen. I mean, you could just be at a party like when you're a teenager and get caught up in some BS, right? So, or hanging out with the wrong people. So I don't think that people should be completely rejected from society because they've been to prison. But and listen, certain crimes, now listen, rape and like murder and stuff like that, no, you ain't working in my business. But certain things I can see. Some people, you give them a little job. I mean, well, come on. So all right, let's move over to Justine and Michael. So he's basically digging his heels in to defend her parenting, and then he starts arguing with his sister, and then the sister gets involved and stuff like that. And the sister's like, listen, you're not going to be disrespecting my mom. And I understand where the sister was coming from. The sister was looking at Justine saying, hey, listen, you already know who my mother is, right? Like, now, you have to respect her as your mother-in-law, and the way that you're speaking is not, I think it was how Justine was saying it. If Justine would have been like, you know what, listen, I understand your concerns, but my kid is a good kid and she's doing great. And you know what? We can talk about, Michael and I can talk about different parenting things, and we're basically on the same page. You know what I'm saying? There's a way you can do it, but not like, your mother's talking reckless. Your mother, you can't be doing stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I definitely saw a moment of, I was disappointed in her behavior in that particular moment. But I listen, I understand where she's coming from, like I said, as a single parent and all of this, but you have to adjust the way that you speak, especially when you're speaking to your elders. That's my culture, right? I mean, but I don't know much about, her cultural background. I just know their last name. I don't know if she illegally changed her name yet or not, but Michael's last name is Prasad. Prasad is definitely an Indian last name. His mom, from what I understand, is Dominican. His dad, I don't know. They haven't said, but if you're from New York, the way he sounds and the year that he was born and everything like that, I'm thinking his dad is either Indo-Caribbean, like from Trinidad or from Guyana or something like that. So these different cultures come into play. So, a Latin mom, an Indo-Caribbean father, they can be kind of strict, right? I don't know if that was exactly the case, but his mother definitely seems to put her foot down. So I think Justine is going to have to really adjust to having a mother-in-law, because that's something that I'm assuming she hasn't had before. I don't think she was married before, was she? Unless she was, let me know down in the comments. But I definitely understand the sister's perspective. So I think they'll get it together. I think they just had a tiff, and I think that there probably will be a level of dysfunction that'll probably always be there. And in spite everything that Michael went through growing up, he always still had his mom and his dad. So that also changes the family dynamic from what it seems, right? I mean, at least he had contact with his dad. I don't know how long his parents were living together, but I mean, he had both of his parents. Justine, it sounds like it was just Justine and her mom. So that is also a very different way of parenting when you come from a single parent household. So, and for Justine, it's like, well, it's working, right? My kid's fine, so leave me alone. But there's a way to do it. So, all right, let's end this with Monique and Derek. So Monique and Derek, okay, so he still wants to go to the casino. So now they're back at the hotel room. And she is absolutely pissed because I'm sure her ankles are swollen, her knees are tight. Look, she just wants to lay down and go the hell to sleep. And all he wants to do is go out and paint the town red. So she tells him, listen, you go out there and do that, don't come back. And I was like, this control thing. I mean, why not say, okay, listen, this is your first night out. We're going to do this, this, and that. Get a plan so that you can, I have a back injury and it is debilitating at times. I cannot sometimes walk for a few minutes at a time without pain and having to sit down. I mean, it's terrible. So I understand. So I have to plan things out. And when people want to do stuff with me late at night, I'm like, oh, hell to the no, because my back is killing me. So I don't know that she has a back issue. I'm not going to assume that, but there's got to be some sort of orthopedic issues. Let's be honest, right? So I think part of that, plus they had been drinking. She's full, especially when you've been drinking, your ankles swell up, right? You're tired. You don't want to go out. So I think that this should have been planned better because he is a literal ball of energy, right? He just wants to go, go, and go. And, so now she's like grumpy and she's grabbing her purse. She's like, all right, come on. God, I don't want to go, she's upset. So I don't know. How do we think this is going to go now when he finds out about the camera and stuff like that? And he seems like, he does seem like he's into her. So he seems like he will put up with a certain level of her shenanigans because, and who wouldn't if somebody's like, basically funding, your entire wardrobe, getting you together. And, he admits, he says, I still need her, But when he said, I still need her, that made me think, okay, but for how long, right? Is she going to help him get set up with a job and then he's out of there? Or, is this going to be a lasting thing? We shall see. But this has been just some craziness. I didn't even talk about Nathan putting on that crazy mask. He just looked ridiculous with that. I think they're going to be the boring couple. Now, I cannot wait till next week with Ashley and is it Travis his name is? What's the woman that's always drunk all the time on camera, the jewelry lady. Oh my God, this cast is gold, TV gold. So anyway, listen, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Share it with a friend because I know you got to know somebody else that is into the madness and needs somebody to talk to, right? Why not? Set on your notification bell so you know when I come on. I'll be doing Love After Lockup on Saturdays because it comes on Friday nights. I can't be doing late Friday nights. That is just too much and I am too tired. So anyway, please stay safe, take care, and Chipisa Lacho. See you next Saturday.